Good morning, everyone. Today is Wednesday, November the 19th. It is now 10:05. I will now call the meeting to order. Uh, First item on the agenda is the approval of the consent agenda, but we are looking to amend today's agenda to move item 6 to closed session to before item 5 and add a brief legislative update designated item 7B. Is
So
there,
moved.
well, hold
So
on.
moved.
Before making a motion for the approval of the consent agenda, I just want you to be aware that we are amending the agenda. Now, can I get a motion for approval of the consent agenda, including today's meeting agenda as amended, plus resolution 25-22, 25-23, and 25-24? Is there a motion?
So move.
I second.
Commissioner Giraldo.
It's been properly moved and second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Mr. Chairman, can we have a general roll call first?
Yes,
Thank you. Commissioner Barnes?
I vote aye.
Commissioner Giraldo?
I vote aye.
Commissioner Agunya?
I vote aye.
Thank you. Commissioner, Vice Chair Harris?
Aye.
Commissioner Bartley? Are you on mute, sir? Thought I saw Bartley. Oh, he has just dropped off. I believe we do still have quorum, though. Commissioner Pedoweem?
Aye.
Thank you, and I think Commissioner Hedrick is not yet here, but he is expected later. Is that correct?
Yeah, he sent a message to that effect.
Okay, that is 5 in favor. Consent agenda passes. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, item 2, approval of commission minutes. Open session, October 15th, 2025. And B, open session, special meeting, November 6th, 2025.
So move approval.
I second.
Been properly moved and second. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it. We will now go into item 3, general announcements. A, Thanksgiving and Employee Appreciation is November 27th and 28th. National American Indian Heritage Month, Maryland Native American Heritage Day is November 28th. Festival of Lights and Winter Garden Walk in Prince George's County and Montgomery counties. Upcoming One Commission holiday event. I'm excited. Next on the agenda is item number 4, committee and board reports, employees retirement system board and trustee regular meetings from October 7th. It's for informational only. All of you all should have received that in your package. Next up is item number 5, actions and presentations. Resolution 25-20 FY27 Annual Employee Retirement System Employer Contribution. Mr. Harris.
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman, according to the amended agenda, I think we are looking to go directly into closed session and moving item number 6 in front of item number 5.
That's correct.
Thank you.
So,
A motion to enter closed after the closed statement?
right. So,
So move.
is there a second?
I second.
Okay. Pursuant to Maryland General Provision Article of the Annotated Code of Maryland, Section 3-305, B, 7, and 9, a closed session is proposed to conduct counsel to obtain legal advice on a legal matter and conduct collective bargaining negotiation or consider matters that are related to the negotiations. With that said, we will now go into a closed session. We are now re-entering open session. During closed session, commissioners approved past closed session minutes. In the absence of acting executive director, the commission received a briefing from corporate budget director on collective bargaining and with the municipal and county government employees organization. The commission also received a briefing from the general counsel on legislation or litigation matters. Commissioners provided input and direction on both matters. We are now back in our open session and going back to item 5. Resolution 25-20 FY27 Annual Employees Retirement Systems Employer Contribution. Harris.
Thank you, Chairman Barnes. Good morning, everyone. I'm Jacqueline Harris, the Executive Director of the Employees Retirement System. I'm here before you today alongside Patrick Nelson and Jana Bowers from Chiron. Chiron is the plan's actuarial consultant, and we're here to present to you today a recommendation for approval, Resolution 2520 regarding the employer contribution in the amount of $31,130,838 for fiscal year 2027. We do have a presentation that will be led by Patrick and Jana. And Patrick, I'm going to transfer it over to you, and we'll take any questions that you may have after the presentation. Thank you so much.
Great. Thank you, Jacqueline. As she said, I am Patrick Nelson. I have Jana here with me as well. And we're going to discuss the 2025 actuarial evaluation results and the fiscal year 2026 fiscal year 2027 contribution number. So quick presentation to give you. I'm going to start with kind of talking about the actual evaluation process. I was informed that there are a few new commissioners, so just kind of want to talk about what we do and how we come up with our numbers. And so we collect all of the membership information and financial information from the system and their staff, review the plan provisions, and apply a series of assumptions to come up with what the liabilities will be. And with that, we project all the future benefit payments, compare that to what the current value of the assets are, and can determine what a appropriate employer contribution will be. So what the contribution that the commission needs to put into this system in order to adequately fund all the benefits that have been promised to both the actives and the retirees of the system. There's a few different risks that all pension plans have to take on. The most important ones that we always want to highlight are investment risk and inflation risk. Investment risk, obviously, being what the markets do over time. Markets going up really helps the system out, will reduce contributions. But on the flip side, poor investment performance will cause the contributions to increase. The past few years, inflation has been a big risk to the system, with both active salaries increasing faster than expected and the cost of living adjustments for the in-pay participants increasing higher than our assumption. So I'll kind of point these out on a future slide to shoot so you can see the impact. We have a few other risks listed here. They can all have great impact on what the contribution is from year to year, but the investments and the inflation are certainly the highest priority to focus on at this point. A quick look at the history of the plan. Taking a step back for the past 10 years, the gray bars on this page. I'm on page 55 of the agenda packet. If anybody's following along that way, or I'm sharing my screen obviously as well. The gray bars on this page are the liabilities of the system. The lines going across, we have both an actuarial value of assets, which is a smooth value of assets in blue. And then the yellow or gold line is the market value of assets. That is the value that you see on the financial statements. The gold line tends to have a little bit more wiggle in it from the how the investments perform year to year. And that's what the entire purpose of that actuarial smooth value is, to kind of level in or phase in any of those gains and losses over time to help mitigate any contribution volatility. We've gone from 90% 10 years ago to 88% as of 2025. So very stable funded percentage, even while we have decreased the contribution, or sorry, not the contribution, the discount rate, which is listed down there at the bottom from 7% to 6.7%. A lower discount rate will increase the liabilities of the plan because you wouldn't be expected to earn as much on your investments corresponding to the money that you currently have. But an 88% funded ratio is a very good place to be right now. Obviously, we want to trend that towards 100% as much as possible. Here's a chart of the membership trends of the past 10 years as well. On the bottom, we have the active participant counts, and on the top, we have the in-pay participant counts. The gray in the middle are terminated vested, so people who are no longer working within the system, but have not yet started collecting their benefit. One item that we want to really point out here is the past 3 years, we have seen a very significant growth in the active population. I know the past few years, we've been informed of significant numbers of vacancies within the system, and those seem to be getting filled very well the past couple of years. And so that active population growth helps bring in more contributions, both from an employee contribution standpoint, as well as contributions made as a percentage of the payroll that is due for active participants. These lines or bars are showing the changes in the unfunded actuarial liability over time. The positive numbers increase the unfunded liability, so that's actually a bad thing, a loss to the system. The negative numbers are gains to the system, so those help bring the unfunded liability down. The two colors that probably stand out the most here are the gray bars, which are the liability gains and losses. So that's participant behavior being different than expected. And then the yellow or gold is the investment gains and losses over time. Typically, you tend to see investment gains and losses as the bigger cause of changes in the unfunded liability. The past few years, particularly though, we've seen it in the liability. Again, that's due to the high inflation, very high pay increases the past few years, the higher than expected cost of living adjustments to the in-pay participants. And then particularly the past 2 to 3 years, the influx of new active members has also caused the liability to increase faster than what we would have expected. The purple are the assumption changes. So you can see from 2016 through 2022, there's a couple big purple assumption changes, but the smaller ones were the discount rate changes that were happening each year. There'll likely be another large purple bar for 2026 as we do another experience study following this valuation. The cash flows of the system, the gold are the contributions coming in, red benefits and expenses going out, and then the green are the investment returns. We like to see there's very large green bars in the positive direction, means the investments are doing very well. The black line going across the bottom is the net cash flow, so it's a negative number, the contributions minus the benefits and expenses, ignoring the investment returns of the money going out of the plan is in a net way, the contributions minus benefits. As a percentage of assets, that started at about 1.4% back in 2016. It's up to about 2.6% as of 2025. So what that means is that the first 2.6% of investment return has to go towards paying off the benefits and expenses due each year. So just to keep the assets where they are in terms of total value, we need at least a 2.6% return. We're assuming we're going to get 6.7% each year, so that'll help grow the assets. But anything less than that, we will see a decrease in the assets from year to year. A quick comparison to some of the other large public sector systems around the country. The first one we're looking at here is the discount rate. So that's that 6.7% number that I mentioned. The gold diamond is where the Park and Planning Commission system is at. We're in the top 25 percentile. So we're 25th most. We're more conservative than 75% of all other plans around the country. And if we take that in combination with the funded status of all the other plans, we're also 75% better funded than other plans around the country. So we're in a very good position, particularly compared to everyone else around the country. There's about 220 other systems that we take into account when looking at this survey. And so to be in a more conservative position and be better funded is a very good place to be. Now I'm going to get into more specifically the 2025 valuation results. Had a nice return on the market value of assets over the 9.4%, resulting in a $14 million gain on the investments. Unfortunately, on the flip side, we had about a $14.6 million loss on the liabilities, again, due to the inflation of salaries and cost of living adjustments. The numbers in the chart below that I want to draw your attention to are the items in gray. So the funded ratio on that smoothed value of assets increased about 1% from 87% to 88%. But on the market value of assets, due to the larger gain, we actually increased from 86.5% to 88.7%. So about 2% increase on that market value of assets due to our 9% return for the year. Although our actual determined contribution did increase from $39.5 million to $41.3 million. I'll get into a little bit of a reconciliation of how that changed next. So right here. So the left-hand column is the contribution that we had for last year, fiscal year 2026, $39.6 million down there at the bottom. The next column over is if everything had happened exactly as we expected, the liabilities grew as expected, the assets returned exactly 6.7%, our contribution would have decreased slightly to 39.3. Of course, everything doesn't ever happen exactly as we expect it to. So first we take a look at how is the contribution impacted due to the change on investments. Well, because of that 9.4% return, the $14 million gain, that contribution would have decreased about $2 million to $37.7 million. However, because of the inflation increases and the contribution jumped back up to $40.3 million. The big driver with that number is both the increase in the active population, which was over 5% for the year, and then that large payroll increase, which is an 11% increase in the payroll from year to year. So that's a very large increase. So now we have to pay additional benefits on higher payroll, both to continuing active participants as well as all of the new employees in the system. We then took into account what the expected salary adjustments were going to be for this upcoming year. And with those increases, we ended up at a contribution of about $41.1 million, about 17.37% of payroll, which is actually down as a percentage of payroll because of the large payroll increase from year to year. But of course, as a dollar amount, about $1.5 million higher. Next, we have a quick breakdown of the contributions by each of the plans. You can see from this that Plan B is still the biggest piece of the entire pie here. A little bit over $17 million of the contribution is attributable to Plan B. Plan E, though, is certainly catching up, about $16 million attributable to them. Plan C is the ongoing police plan, about $8 million there. And then plans A and plans D, neither of those have any active participants remaining. So it's only retiree benefits that are still being paid out. We have the split between the park police and non-police down at the bottom as well for your reference. I'd like to share a couple of projections with you. So this first one is our baseline projection in the top graph. Again, the gray bars are the liabilities of the system. The line going across is the assets of the system. There's supposed to be two lines there, but the actuarial value of assets is very, very close to the market value. So you can probably only see the one line there. But we're increasing from 88% over the next 20 years up to 97% funded. In order to reach our 100% funded, we're probably going to need a little bit of extra investment returns to help kind of grow those assets a little bit quicker. But as long as we're trending in the right direction, that's the important part. The bottom graph, the contributions, the gray on the bottom are the member employee contributions. Those remain pretty steady with the slight increases as payroll is expected to increase. The yellow on top of that are the employer contributions. And as a percentage of payroll, they actually remain pretty steady, but we do see a dollar amount increase from $41 million up to $47 million. That black line that's going across, that's the normal cost. So those are the benefits, the contribution that's due to the benefits that are being earned each year. So anything above that black line is what's being used to pay off the unfunded liability of the system. So as we approach that 100% funded towards the end of the projection period here in 20 years, that area above the black line continues to get smaller and smaller. Just a little background on what's kind of going into these. We assume that 6.7% investment return every single year and a 2.5% increase in the total payroll for the system each year, and the active population can remains steady. So any actives that are expected to leave, retire, or terminate will be replaced by exactly one new active participant. So we'll continue to see that inactive population grow and the active population remains steady. It's kind of a quick look at the results and the baseline projection. Are there any questions that I can take at this time? Otherwise, we have a couple other quick scenarios that I can share as well. Not seen any. So our next slide, page 67, this is kind of putting some dollar amounts, but behind all the contributions and the different pieces, again, the normal costs, those are the benefits that are accruing each year. You can see how those continue to increase as payroll increases each year. The amortization of the unfunded liability, that'll continue to decrease as we get that unfunded liability paid off. Estimated expenses increasing slightly just due to inflation over time. Net and total employer contribution remains pretty steady, with the normal cost offsetting what the amortization of the unfunded liability is and then as a percentage of the total the total contribution as a percentage of payroll, it continues to come down as we pay off that unfunded liability. Just kind of for disclosure purposes, we have a couple of scenarios here. So this first one is if instead of the 6.7% return every year, we only got 5.2%. So that's 150 basis points every single year, less than what we're expecting. You can see that our contributions grow quite quickly in order to try to help maintain the funded position that we're currently in. It's still going to decrease to about 84%. In our baseline scenario, that 20-year contribution number was about $850 million, and you can see it's increased to approaching $1.2 billion over the next 20 years if we're unable to meet our investment bogeys. This one is with varying returns. So we've kind of taken a look at, well, what if the next 20 years repeated itself from similar to how 1960 to 1980 went. We chose that period of time because the average return over those 20 years was 6.68%. So very close to what we were expecting for 6.7%. However, we're varying the returns from year to year. So you can see the funded ratio increasing and decreasing over time. The contributions start off decreasing after some positive investment returns, and then quickly jump back up after that negative nearly 18% for 2035 that we're showing, and again in 2039 at negative 12%. But again, we average very close to what our current assumption is. And then if we look at the 20-year contribution, again, before on the baseline, about $850 million was expected. We're at $865 million now with these varying returns. So it comes out to a very similar number. Just some years going to be significantly less, some years significantly more, hoping that the smooth value of assets helps take out some of that contribution volatility. But again, kind of the markets will dictate how how the funded status and the contributions of the system will go. So that's a quick run through of our kind of prepared remarks. We have a few other tables in the back of the presentation just for reference if anybody would like to see them. But I know the primary focus is the contribution number. I'm going to try to go back to that page. So the $41,130,838 is the recommended contribution for fiscal year 2027.
Thank you, Patrick. At this time, are there any questions regarding the presentation? And once again, we're looking for approval for the recommended employer contribution for FY27.
This is
So
already.
I'll move approval.
I second.
Been properly moved in second. Jim, do we need to call the roll?
Yes, please. Chair Barnes,
I vote aye.
Commissioner Geraldo,
How about aye?
Commissioner, forgive me, Okoye,
I vote aye.
Vice Chair Harris,
Aye.
Commissioner Bartley,
Aye.
Commissioner Hedrick,
Aye.
Commissioner Pettaway. Commissioner, you're on mute.
Aye.
Thank you. Motion passes 7-0.
Can I just say one thing? I really appreciate the presentation, Ms. Harris and Mr. Nelson. I'm happy to go to bed at night knowing that we are at the top of the industry in terms of being almost fully funded, and that and we're not taking the highest risk options. And so, thank you so much. Your presentation was very, very informative and very clear. Thank you.
Thank you. We will now move on to item B, Resolution 25-21, FY27 115 Trust, OPEB, Employer Contribution, the Employees Retirement System Group, Health Insurance. Ms. Bolton.
Thank you, Chair Barnes,
Mr. Cohen.
and nice to see you all, members of the Commission. The item before you this morning is approval of the fiscal year 27 employer contribution to the Commission's Retiree Health Benefit Trust. A brief presentation is going to be done by Tom Vicente from Bolton Partners. Tom, I can see you there. The floor is yours.
Yes. Thank you, Gavin. I will share my screen from the packet as well to help carry along. Gavin asked us to give a high-level review of the evaluation for the retiree benefits program. The procedures and techniques are very similar to what you just heard from Chiron on the pension side. They'll deal with your medical plan benefits for retirees. So hitting the highlights, I think the first one we just want to mention is that, the plan is, so this plan has not been funded as long as the pension, but you are showing good progress. So as this summary shows, the funded ratio last year was 32.4%. That has gone up to 38.3% this year, so a good improvement. That was largely brought about by three factors. There was favorable demographic experience, which we'll get to in a moment. So what happened with the members, their enrollment. There was also some favorable changes in what we call the per capita costs. So these are the medical costs on a per person basis for the retirees, which often can be different than what the commission might experience for their active employees. Retirees and active employees use different medical services. They have different drugs they get prescribed. So you can see some very different reactions over time between actives and retirees. And finally, we did receive part of the program received subsidies from the federal government through some of the drug programs they're involved in, and those subsidies went up. And so that was a favorable variance. On the table, you can also see, in addition to the funded ratio, what we call the gross ADC. That is the actuarially determined contribution. And we say it's gross because it's before we deduct things that other sources of payment of the contribution. And you'll see that number went from $37.8 million down to $35.4 million, a decrease of about $2.4 million or 6%. The net, this is the amount that would get deposited into the trust. So after you take out all the things that are paid by others or paid elsewhere, how much goes into the trust itself? Last year, that was $7.4 million for fiscal 26. For fiscal 27, which is what this report covers, we've dropped that down to $5.3 million, which is because it's a smaller number. It's the same general difference, to just over $2 million difference, but percentage-wise, it's a bigger change because it's a smaller number. As we go through this, feel free to stop us and ask any questions, or be happy to take any questions at the end as well. This page is a reconciliation of some of the numbers we just talked about. It's a lot of numbers. I draw your attention to the ones highlighted in blue. So there's the first one, is the higher than expected federal reimbursement. You see for the net trust contribution, that's where that comes in. That was almost $1 million of the $2 million decrease. So that increased federal subsidy or federal reimbursement of some drug costs under the different programs you're enrolled in was a big component of why the net trust contribution went down. The other big component, going down a few lines, is the demographic experience, and you'll see that's $0.8 million. So between those two, they're the lion's share of the change to the net trust contribution. The next page, we just break out in a little more detail what those favorable changes were to you. We detailed what the dollars were there at the top, going through the change in liability and contributions from the demographic experiences. So what happened there, how the liability changed, how it changed. We then talked about the per capita cost changes and how much that changed the numbers. The per capita cost didn't really affect the net trust contribution. That was more the other components. And then the federal subsidy, which had the biggest impact on the net trust contribution as a single component. Jumping ahead a few slides, we have some things here we weren't going to speak to. I think that from a high level, they're interesting to us, but from a high level, we thought we'd pass over them, but certainly stop us if there's something else that you want us to talk to. I'm going to ask Becca if she could come in and talk a little bit more about the per capita costs and the trend. Becca?
Sure, yes, thank you. Yeah, so as Tom was alluding to earlier, there can be a big difference in the average claims costs for actives versus retirees. And so I think you've been seeing increased premiums. The pre-Medicare premiums, which are based on a blend of active and retiree claims experience, were higher than we had been expecting. You have been seeing double-digit increases there. But when we looked at just the retiree experience to set the expected per capita costs for this retiree population and the OPEB valuation, it was actually a little less than we expected. So that resulted in a lower liability and a lower ADC. It didn't have as much of an impact on the net trust contribution just because that is after benefit payments. And so the amount that we're expecting to be paid to retirees would change in that same direction. And so the net additional contribution was not as impacted. But just looking at that retiree only claims experience, it just did not increase to the level that we had expected, which was about 7.5% for pre-Medicare retirees, and then quite a bit higher for Medicare retirees because we had been projecting a large increase due to the Inflation Reduction Act. And so it was a little bit lower than expected than the adjustment that we had made for that change in legislation. Any questions on the per capita costs?
So, yeah, this is Commissioner Giraldo. I do have a question as to whether or not the cutback in the additional credits for the Affordable Care Act is in any way going to impact our health programs, if you know.
It would not directly impact your programs. The biggest potential way that it could is if there were retirees who were choosing to not participate in your plan because coverage was more affordable using the exchanges and the Affordable Care Act based on those subsidies, and they now no longer found that more affordable. You may be seeing higher participation in your plan in the coming years for participants who otherwise would have done that. But direct costs, it should not be impacted by that.
Oh, thank you very much. No further questions.
Okay. And then just we look every year at the expected rate of return that we're using. It is 6.7%. So when we looked at the most recent 20-year return and using some of our software, it was right in that range. 50th percentile was just under 7%. So that confirmed that the 6.7 is reasonable. See, it's also consistent with what you're using for the pension plan. So we didn't make any change to that assumption. And then for the healthcare cost trend, sorry, go ahead. Any questions? All right. Then just the healthcare cost trend that we use is based on a model developed by the Society of Actuaries that looks at the percentage that healthcare costs make up of GDP. And so in the short term, healthcare costs have been increasing, but we think that has got to stop at some point. And so we have an assumption that is higher in the short term and then grades down to a lower assumption that's closer to inflation in the term. And I'm talking really long term, 2075, so 50 years in the future. And we'll reflect on the additional costs. I mentioned this when I was talking about the per capita costs. In that first year, we expected it to increase your costs because there was some cost shifting that the government was doing to put more on plan sponsors. That was effective January 1st, 2025. So you've already now seen that in your costs. And now we're projecting that there will be some cost savings due to the Inflation Reduction Act because the government is negotiating some drug prices and will likely result in lower costs on the RX side. So we are factoring that into the trend assumption that we, as we project costs into the future.
So this chart gives, I'm sorry, Becca, are you going to do this one or me? We need to talk about this one.
You can jump in.
Sure. So this just gives you a 5-year projection of the contribution, and the row highlighted in blue, that's that net trust contribution. So that's the amount that we're suggesting will be the contribution to the trust in future years. And you'll see that we're at that $5,250,000 in fiscal 27, which is the result of this valuation. And as you go left to right, you can see that number does go up over time, but not in a dramatic sense. Though, as Patrick pointed out, these are based on a ton of assumptions about the future. And the one thing we know about our assumptions is that they won't come true. We just hope that they have a generally provide a good profile for what the future has, but we'll see those variations year to year. The other thing to call your attention to is at the top 4 rows brackets, the percent funded, 38%, you see that there. going up gradually. So the plan is making progress as you've been making the contributions. The plan is making progress. So we expect that to continue. And then hopefully before we know it, we'll have this plan up in the upper 80s, 90% funded, just like the pension plan is. That closes out our presentation. So happy to take any other questions if folks have them.
Are there any questions? Seeing none, thank you all so much for your presentation.
Chair Barnes, if I may, I'd
sir.
just be remiss if I didn't thank Commissioner Giraldo. He's the chair of the trustees, as well as all their trustees for their diligence in managing the 115 Trust. And I just really wanted to take the opportunity to thank them. Thank you, Chair Barnes.
Yeah, he's one of the best. Thank you. All right, moving on to.
Thank you.
There is a
There's a vote
A
for this,
resolution.
for the resolution.
I'm sorry.
There's a resolution 2521 to be approved by the commissioners.
Since we got such high regards for Commissioner Giraldo, do you want to make the motion?
Move approval.
Is there a second?
I second.
It's been properly moved and second. Jim, you want to call the roll?
Chair Barnes,
I vote aye.
Commissioner Giraldo,
I vote aye.
Commissioner Okoye,
I vote aye.
Vice Chair Harris,
Aye.
Commissioner Bartley. Second call for Commissioner Bartley. All right, we'll return Commissioner Hedrick,
Aye.
Commissioner Linden,
Aye.
Commissioner Pettaway. Second call for Commissioner Bartley. That is 7 in favor, 1 absent, no opposed. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Item C, Resolution 25-25 FY26 anniversary increments for seasonal intermittent employees. Mr. Spencer.
The Classification and Compensation Manager, Bonnie King. Bonnie, you are on mute currently.
Yes, good morning, Commissioners. For the record, my name is Bonnie King. I am the Manager of Classification and Compensation. And in reference to the resolution on circle page 97 of your packet, I am here to resolve an administrative oversight that occurred in September 2025 and request the Commission's approval for FY 2026 anniversary pay increments for certain seasonal, intermittent, and term contract employees. Anniversary pay increments for these employees will be awarded in accordance with Commission Practice 2-16 and Administrative Procedures 00-02. I ask for your approval.
Is there a motion?
So I move approval, Mr. Chair.
Is there a second?
I second.
It's been properly moved and second. Jim, you want to call the roll? I vote aye.
Commissioner Giraldo,
I vote aye.
Commissioner Okoye,
I vote aye.
Vice Chair Harris,
Aye.
Commissioner Bartley, Commissioner Hedrick,
Aye.
Commissioner Linden,
Aye.
Commissioner Pettaway.
Aye.
Second call for Commissioner Bartley. Motion passes 7-0, 1 absent.
Thank you.
Item number D, FY26 budget transfer for negotiated adjustments. Ms. Charles.
Good morning. For the record, I'm Terry Bacot Charles, Corporate Budget Director, and I'm before you this morning to request your annual support of a budget transfer of the salary marker funds currently in each fund's non-departmental account to the respective department budgets in accordance with the approved negotiated agreements which occurred in June and September. Currently in FY26, we have identified the need to transfer a total of $7,063,265. Broken down by the county, the realignment that's going to occur within Prince George's County totals $4,141,030 for its 3 funds, and the 2 funds for the Montgomery total a realignment of $2,922,235. Thanks for your consideration.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Mr. Chair, I move approval of the request.
It's been properly moved in second. Jim, you want to call the roll? I vote aye.
Commissioner Geraldo?
I vote aye.
Commissioner Okoye?
I vote aye.
Vice Chair Harris?
Aye.
Commissioner Bartley? Commissioner Hedrick?
Aye.
Commissioner Linden?
Aye.
Commissioner Pettaway?
Aye.
Second call for Mr. Bartley. Motion passes 7-0, one absence.
Thank you very much. Item number E, M-NCPPC Centennial Celebration Preparation, Ms. Jones or Brenda.
Good morning. For the record, Alana Branza. I'm here with my co-chairs for the Centennial Committee, Jessica Jones and Callista Black. And we're here to just provide a brief overview to the commissioners of our intent around our centennial. We are amazing to be at this milestone of almost 100 years of the commission, which we will be celebrating in 2027. And while 2027 seems far away, we know it will come sooner than we expect. So we're getting going already. So we hopefully, okay, there it goes. We are excited that we have pulled together a committee with representation from all of the different departments within the commission. And so you can see our committee members here. And we set out with the goal of developing a plan of activities, events, and collateral to celebrate the commission centennial that highlight the role of the commission both internally and externally. And we want to make sure that we recognize this milestone across the whole commission. And as the committee, we will ensure facilitation of these selected activities. And so we broke our activities down into 3 areas. We've had some great brainstorming sessions, both within the committee members and also talking with the different directors, officers, and the chairs. So first section is collateral. We will be creating a 100th year logo that we'll be able to use on internal and external materials. We will make sure that the about the department commission language is updated in all press releases, websites, et cetera, to reflect this milestone. We'll work on some staff facilities branding, so that may include, T-shirts or lapel pins, stickers, patches. We're going to work with the different departments to flesh the specifics of that out. And then just general branding guidance. So any flyers, brochures, presentations that are produced through commission departments over the course of that year will have a similar feel and language that highlights this milestone. We also have a series of activities we are looking to develop. So a visual timeline on our website that highlights milestones and activities of the commission over the past 100 years. And we're also intending to hopefully do a small print run of it, so a little booklet to highlight that. Create some videos that also connect some of these milestones, old photos, old videos, historic content, interviews with key commission officers, staff, and commissioners. We're looking to do a social media campaign. So we'll include some short videos and text that highlights commissions first, whether those are internal or projects that we have won awards for, some patron engagement in that. We'd love to highlight 100 faces of M-NCPPC. So let's highlight some of our staff that really are the front lines of making the commission such a important and successful agency. And then let's get the public engaged. So we'll have a scavenger hunt opportunity for them, so a way that they can visit and participate in 100 M-NCPPC events or visiting our different spaces over the year and be able to enter it into a raffle. And then our third bucket is some specific events. So, just kind of overlaps, but with collateral, but just making sure that we are acknowledging this milestone at events throughout the year. So we'll have some language about that. The first commission meeting was at PRA in June, so we hopefully will have a commemorative full commission meeting there, and we'll request some proclamations from the county executive, state delegation to highlight this milestone. And then on the previous slide, I mentioned the timeline that we'd create. So we hope to be able to transfer highlights from that timeline into panels that we'll be able to mount and display at various facilities over the course of the year for any of our visitors to those areas to come and see. And then on that anniversary day of the first commission, we're looking to have some select M-NCPPC activities, so like a carousel ride or something, be $1 to commemorate that 100th anniversary. So that is it, I believe that I think, yeah. So we are happy to take any questions anyone has. We will, of course, be back at various points as we get closer to share updates with the commission on where planning is for 2027.
Great job. It's not often that Chairman Harrison and I have you all in front of us, so we have a ton of questions. No, seriously. Any other questions?
No, Chair Barnes, yeah, I'm so excited about the 100th anniversary, and I can't wait to see all the activities, and thanks so much for starting ahead of time to plan. Yeah.
All right. Thank you all. We will now move on to item number 7. And I don't think the only one is General Counsel.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Again, for the record, Deborah Borden, General Counsel for the Commission. We just have a few bills. This should be a very short item for you. We did get 2 bills in the past couple of days, so we just wanted to alert you. These 2 bills only apply in Montgomery County, and they were introduced last year, so you may remember them. Are we starting with the vendor registration? Can we start with the other ones? Yeah, the Montgomery bills. One of the bills is maximum speed limits, and this bill would recommend that that Montgomery County is given the authority to decrease maximum speed limits on highways in accordance with the recommended target speed that's in either a master plan, a functional plan, or in county code, without having to do a full-blown engineering and traffic study. So this bill might sound familiar because it was introduced last year. It didn't make it through. Some bills just run out of time. And as far as we know, that's what happened with this bill. They're bringing it back, and we did support it last year, so we're assuming that we can go ahead and support it this year. We will check in with the sponsor on this bill to make sure that there is no intent to significantly amend it to do something else other than what it currently states. But as of now, we assume that, this is going to go forward as it's drafted, and as it's drafted, we have supported it already. So just letting you know that, and if it does change, we of course will bring it back, but we'll bring it back mostly to the Montgomery side because it really only applies in Montgomery County. Next bill. And the next one is similar in the sense that it was a bill that was introduced last year, and it concerns only Montgomery County. It's about crosswalk monitoring systems around schools. This would allow Montgomery County to implement automated crosswalk monitoring systems in school zones. And again, it's our understanding that this bill just ran out of time. That happens during the session. You know, priorities are made, and time just runs out on some bills. So they're bringing these back, and we hope that you can continue to support them. So the other two bills that are new, we've been notified that there's a vendor registration bill that's styled as PGMC 10126, and this bill would apply to both counties. This bill would require both the Park and Planning Commission and WSSC to accept as registered vendors any person or organization that's registered as a vendor with Montgomery County or Prince George's County. Now, this sounds fairly simple, but we are concerned that in practice, it's not going to be terribly simple, because all of these agencies, Montgomery, Prince George's, Park and Planning, WSSC, have their own vendor registration systems, and they don't talk to each other. They're embedded within our ERP system, which we are, of course, in the process of replacing our ERP system. We're also concerned about the language, the fact that it's not defined. You know, the procurement system for each agency is different. And we handle things in terms of the process quite differently based on what our needs are. You know, our system is very focused on our needs as an agency, which are different from the more general needs of the counties and the very specific needs of WSSC. So we would like to just have some basic comments which we've already put together in conjunction with our procurement staff. These are our high-level comments about the bill so far. We want to put these in as information only for the local bill hearing, which is coming up very quickly, right after the Thanksgiving holiday, and then reserve the position, whether we take a position or not. We want to reserve that until we have a chance to talk to the sponsor. We want to understand what the sponsor is trying to accomplish here, what the sponsor thinks the problem is, because we're not aware of any problem with the vendor registration system or process across the different agencies. And so we want to reach out and see if we can't understand what that problem is, and maybe work with the sponsor to come up with a solution that will actually address whatever the problem is. So that's where we'd like to leave that. We would like your permission to transmit these comments that are on the screen right now as informational comments only from the staff, so that we can have something in on the local bill hearing. That's the first one is December 1. So I would need a motion for this one.
Is there a motion?
Before we make a motion, Mr. Chair, can I just have a slight comment, please?
Yes, sir.
So with regards to number 2, I think there's a typo. And so if it's going to be transmitted, if that typo can be corrected, it should say vendor registration is not defined.
Yes.
And it has
that
just
has been
voter-
corrected. Sorry about that.
Okay.
I have corrected that, yes.
That's okay. Okay.
Is there a motion?
Given that, I'll so move approval.
There a second?
A second.
Been properly moved in second. Jim, you like to call the roll?
Chairman Barnes.
I vote aye.
Commissioner Geraldo.
I vote aye.
Commissioner Okoye.
Aye.
Vice Chair Harris.
Aye.
Commissioner Bartley. Commissioner Hedvig.
Aye.
Commissioner Pedoeem. I'm sorry, Commissioner Linden.
Aye.
Commissioner Pedoeem.
Aye.
Second call for Bartley. Motion passes 7-0, 1 absent.
I believe that concludes
And
all.
I'm sorry, we have one more, just one more quick one. The last piece of legislation is the financial disclosure statements. So it's our information that possibly Prince George's County, although we're not quite sure if it was the county exec's office or the county council, has recommended this change to the public ethics law It's PGMC 10526, and it would simply add the Prince George's County Office of Ethics and Accountability to the list of offices that receive copies of our commissioners' financial disclosure statements. Again, we're not quite sure what's behind this change. It's not a very large change in the sense that the CAO of each county already gets copies of these statements, so we're not quite sure what this is attempting to do. We will try to get more information about this, but we just wanted to alert you, particularly since this impacts you, each one of our commissioners specifically. It only impacts the Prince George's commissioners because it would only apply to the Prince George's commissioners who would have copies of their financial disclosure statements go to an additional county agency. So it is somewhat just odd. We're not really quite sure, because if it goes to the CAO, you would think they could provide it to whatever county agency needs it from there. So we're not really quite sure what's behind this, but we'll look into it and bring it back to you when we have more information. And that's it. That concludes my remarks. Thank you.
Thank you. I believe that concludes all of our agenda items for today. It is now 11:56, and our meeting is now adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you,
Chairman.
everybody.